Welcome back to another episode of the Money Mindset Hub podcast. So today I have an incredible guest with me. Her name is Jess Williamson, and she's an award-winning mindset and business mentor and a serial entrepreneur, having scaled successful businesses in all different business models and in different areas as well, like products, agencies, travel, personal branding, and also fashion. So she's always been a big dreamer and started her first unofficial business at the age of 7, then went on to be the CEO of 5 businesses. One of her businesses even ended up featured in New York Fashion Week. She was featured in some of the biggest magazines in the world, like Forbes, that we all know. And some of these businesses she's now exited or sold internationally. So she doesn't just teach you about what to do, she actually teaches you personally because she's done it. And she's also very open as well around the darker side of entrepreneurship, the rock bottoms, the doubts, the fears. But she always knows that there is always a way. And she's now committed to helping business owners all over the world grow their businesses without sacrificing their lives and building deep personal growth. Welcome, Jess, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that incredible intro.
Yeah, I just added a few things, but yeah, I just find it really inspiring. And as we were just talking about then before we started recording, she actually made a documentary series on her experience and her journey. So I'm going to share that in the show notes too, so you can go check that out, because I remember asking you for the link for that months ago, and I watched it and I was just in such awe, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of resilience. It takes a strong, brave person that has this like relentless passion to succeed. And I know success is such a big theme for both of us being projectors, and it's just this thing we keep going towards in life. And no matter what we do, and no matter when things get hard and we feel like, oh my God, can I just stop already? You just can't. And I know you resonate with that too. So is there anything you want to say before I get into it? Do you want to give yourself a little bit of an intro?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered off a lot. I mean, if I gave the whole intro, we'd be here for a long time on my whole journey. But definitely, if you're interested, go and watch the documentary series. I thought, why the heck not make a whole damn documentary? They're short 3-part series. So I kind of share my journey and each phase of that. But yeah, I am just so passionate about helping other women build their businesses for life and doing that in your own way as well.
Yeah. And we all have our own unique way of doing things. And I think one of the biggest keys, and you'll probably resonate with this too, is at the end of the day, you're your own key. You have to crack your own code to find out what makes you tick, what are you passionate about, and what works best for you, depending on what your circumstances are, right? And what you want to achieve. How many times have we done the follow this method and you'll be success? Like, it's proven, it's a strategy, like this is what you've got to do. And then in the
I
end,
can't. I just can't with those methods. I just can't. I'm like, no, there is not like 5 steps to success. And honestly, when I was starting out a little bit on my online course journey, I joined a course about making an online course, and it burnt me out just trying to complete the course, let alone trying to run a business as well. And I actually stopped doing it halfway. I was like, I'm going to take what I need, but I'm not following this 50 million step, because now I'm burnt out and got nothing to show for it as well.
exactly. You're like, well, that didn't work for me. And I know I always go into things like, what can I actually learn from this? Or how would this apply to me?
Yeah.
I'm like blocking it off, but I know I've definitely done the same thing. I've gone into things and thought, okay, this is going to tell me it. And maybe this is more at the beginning of the journey where you don't
Yeah.
really know, you just dip your toes in the water, and then you realize, I just can't get through all the stuff, or it's all very a certain model. And I found, I don't know about you, but then going further on and I learned about human design, I realized, okay, a lot of the people that I'm trying to emulate or trying to follow their strategies, they're actually generators. They're not projectors. And I just can't get
100%. Oh my gosh. I have so many projectors reach out to me for that reason. And for anyone that is familiar with human design, you'll know like projectors, manifestors are kind of wired differently in terms of our energy, and we love going deep. And a lot of the advice that I find in the online education space is also the only way to scale is you need quantity and you need an online course where you don't even know who's signing up. And I'm like, I'm a projector. I love deep personal connections. I want to know what your dog's name is. I want to know who is signing up and working with me. And so I've built a business model that allows me to continue to scale my income, but it doesn't mean it's reliant on bulk quantity of just people and dollars. And it just feels so impersonal, and it's not the way I want to do business. It doesn't mean it's the wrong way. And so, yeah, I think even just what you said before about being inquisitive on why am I doing this? What is the outcome I want? And finding your own path is really, really the key, and kind of throwing all those rules out the window. Like, you don't have to build an online course if you don't want to.
Exactly. You really don't. And that just made me think about this whole, maybe it's a trend at the moment. I don't know, but I'm sure you observe things that are going on and you have your own take on it. But there's this big push around passive income, and it's portrayed in this way that there's no work in after you've done it, like it's just set and forget. And that's so not true. There
No.
is still things you need to do behind the scenes to keep it running, to make sure everything's working, nothing's broken, it's still relevant.
Even if, let's say even if you had an online course that was passive, didn't require you to deliver on it once it's filmed, there's still, of course, all that upfront work. But even once it's ticking along and operating, you still have to promote it. Whether you're running ads, you have to continually, like I used to work in digital marketing. We checked the ads like 20 times a day because of the amount of budget going through it. It's a problem if you're not checking it. But even if you're running ads and you've got this automated funnel that converts people, you have to continually tweak the funnel, make sure it's converting, check the ads, update the ads because they have a lifespan that expires. And if you're not doing ads and you're trying to promote through organic, then you have to continue to provide content that gets you the reach and has a call to action and converts. And, there's so much extra work. While the actual product is passive, the actual work to get the sales is not passive. And you still have to have sales conversations or answer questions about, like, is this right for me? And so, yeah, it's a big misconception. And I find a lot of people create their program and then they wonder, why is it not selling? And I'm like, because you haven't spoken about it in 6 months. Like, it's not going to sell itself unless you have these things going on as well.
Yeah. And first of all, have that conversation so people actually want what it is you're selling.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember this was years ago, hearing the best way to do it. Now, obviously, again, the best way is whatever works for you, but hearing that it's better to do it module by module and do it live and actually engage with the people, your customers, to understand what do they need, because you can think that, okay, this is what's going to work. And then you get into the conversations. If you've already mapped it out, you've already recorded everything, it's already set and forget, and you're just, taking them through it, you might realize you're missing a core piece that they need for the transformation that you're selling. And you're just blissfully unaware until someone says it. And then you have to go and do more work. So I suppose there's different ways of doing it, depending on what it is, obviously. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's go deep, because we're projectors. We love to go deep and get beyond the surface level, right?
Yeah.
So what is your earliest childhood memory that you believe was the defining moment for the success that you've achieved?
There's so many, and honestly, like, they were all locked away in my subconscious. And so as I go deeper into obviously personal development, like, I'm unlocking these core memories, and I don't think there's one that was like a defining factor, but probably not so much in my childhood, but when I started my first business, that was probably a real defining factor as to the success I've had now, which I started that at 22 years old. Whether you call that a child or not, technically I'm an adult, but I was very much still in that child mentality. And the biggest moment that taught me was having blind faith. Like, there were so many reasons why I should not have done that. Like, I had no experience, firstly, For context, I started a swimwear brand and I decided, you know what? I'm going to start a global swimwear brand. This was my vision for it. I was like, it's going to compete with the Sea Follies, the top brands in the world. That's just the vision. There was not 1 ounce of self-doubt. I was just like, that's what I'm doing. So like, what's next? What's this logical step? And what that taught me was it doesn't matter how credible you are. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. I had zero experience in the fashion industry other than wearing fashion. Like I liked
Yeah.
to wear it. Zero experience in product-based business, zero experience in business, even though I did a business degree. Anyone who's gone to uni for business, I've never used one thing because it's so theory-based. I'm sure, certain degrees definitely have their place, but a marketing degree, it was so theory-based that none of it was ever translated into what I was going to be doing and using it for. So I really had no reason why I should have been allowed to go and start that, but I did it anyway. And because I had this delusional, and people talk about delulu, this was before there was even that narrative. That's how I operated. And that is the reason why 1 week after I launched online, I was invited to New York Fashion Week. Not because I was the best designer in the world, but because I knew that this was the vision, this was the reality I was creating. Therefore, I did a brand photo shoot that positioned me as a global leader. I didn't play small just because I had no clue what I was doing. And that's what got me noticed. And that's what got me invited to New York Fashion Week after 1 week in business. And I love telling that story because people think mindset, that's nice, but just tell me the strategy. The strategy to me was, okay, if I'm global, obviously I'm doing a great quality photo shoot. I'm not up here trying to model it myself with an iPhone. So the strategy is so simple and people just overcomplicate business. I would say not technically childhood, but that was probably the defining moment that I've continued to bring with me throughout my business journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that too, because first of all, it all starts and ends with your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you think that no doubt came from? Like that just natural, delusional in the best way energy came from?
Yeah, I often get asked this and I don't know, to be honest, because even like my mum and dad, like they were somewhat entrepreneurial in a sense. Like my mom was an artist. She doesn't really do it now. She does it a bit more as a hobby, but my mom was an artist. She, put her art out there. She actually did an exhibition one time at Michael Jackson's house, which was like a random occurrence, which was pretty cool, but she didn't necessarily have that. I mean, she had the goals, but she didn't have that like delusional belief because she was even the first one to say to me, are you sure you want to quit your job? Are you sure? And then my dad, like he's run small businesses. He owns like a paint shop, but not necessarily on that like level. So I think I definitely got some of it from them. But then my brother is completely different to me, like probably the opposite around that mindset. And so I think sometimes it's genetics. Sometimes, I don't know. Look, I think the world is trying to figure it out still, but I do think our mindsets are obviously formed in those earlier years while we have a natural inclination to our personality and things like that. Obviously, being exposed to things at a young age, but I can't pinpoint what was I exposed to.
That's pretty amazing. It just made me think of a conversation that I was having yesterday with a friend who was talking about more on astrology and
Mm,
that my youngest daughter is a star seed, like someone who's
yeah.
just been here before, just sees it differently because
Uh-huh.
she is, again, so confident. She's two, mind you. I have three children, 6 and under, and she's the youngest. And it just seems like that, like she's got that in her already. There is no doubt. You wouldn't even think she was two
Yeah.
because of the way she can speak, and I see her
So good.
having that about her just already in her spirit.
I mean, this is evident of astrology, human design. I feel like we are always meant to be who we were born as. And then obviously life experiences sometimes pull us off track or create limiting beliefs or things like that. And whenever I've had my astrology or my human design read, they're like, whoa, there is some power in this. Like, I don't know what parts of it they were referring to, but I always remember their reaction. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, that makes sense. Obviously, in my human design chart, I do have like the root center defined. So I am just like, let's go. Like, I'm not here to waste time. I'm ready. Let's go. So there's that drive and ambition that I have. And so that's kind of, I actually didn't realize not everyone thinks the way I think. And it wasn't until a while into my business when I started going to networking events, or even when I started having people reaching out for mentoring. And I was like, what do you mean self-doubt? Just go do it, and this was my method of mentoring. Now I've obviously can help people unlock that mindset for themselves. But I just thought everyone thought that way. Like, of course you would do that because that's your goal. Like, what else would you be doing? And so it's been cool to look back and unpack, why do I think that way? How do I think that way? And then backing it up with my mindset certifications on how do we unlock that for you as well.
Yeah. And I think even when you are someone who is more naturally optimistic and a go-getter and a high achiever, and you just don't know why, but you can't stop. But then the moment that you actually start to dive deeper, say into NLP, into hypnosis, all those sorts of things, you start to realize, oh, there's a power here. And you're right, not everybody thinks the same. A conversation I literally had this morning was I started to realize that, I suppose on your journey too, like in your personal development and professional development, you get to this point and that's just your natural operating system, right? Like that's just the natural way that you look at things. It's just the natural way that you perceive things. And you're either kind of a glass half full or a glass half empty. And you forget that people don't think like that. And when you say things that just seem quite obvious to you, it's like profound to them. Maybe that's also the projector magic that you're just like, oh, why can't you see this?
Yeah.
Go this way, you'll get there. Why can't you see that?
Absolutely.
So what is one lesson that you wish you had learned earlier in your journey? Because I know you've had challenging times as well. It isn't always rainbows and sunshine, right? I remember you talking about the moment where you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really common for a lot of people, but not a lot of people talk about that dark side of entrepreneurship where things aren't always peachy. So yeah, what do you think is sort of one lesson that you're like, oh, if I had have learned that earlier, it would have, I don't know, sped things up or made you not have to learn harsher lessons?
So one of the biggest lessons that I think I have had to work through, and obviously I've had rock bottom moments like the time you're referring to, I accidentally emptied my life savings. I was burnt out, like my whole life was imploding, and that was a pretty challenging time. But one of the biggest lessons that I think I could have learned earlier was that, like, it's safe to be seen. Because when I first started my business, I didn't put my name anywhere. I didn't tell anyone I was starting a business. I didn't want to be seen. And I was so afraid of judgment that I kept myself so small. And while I was powerhousing it up, doing all my businesses, I was still hiding myself. And so that's been the biggest journey that I've been on, is realizing that it's safe to show up as myself, and it's okay if people think you're a bitch or you're arrogant or they're going to see you through their own lens, and it's okay. But I also don't think I could have learned it earlier, so as much as I would have loved to learn it earlier, I don't think I could have, because I had to go through all of those challenges, all of the times that shone the light on those shadows, and there's wounds that I had to work through and to be rock solid in who I am. And while I'm still uncovering more, it's like I'm okay with being seen now, which is like, if I'm not seen, I'm not really feeling successful as a projector. So that was a huge theme for me as well.
Yeah, I resonate 100% with that absolute fear of, what are people going to think? What are they going to say? Will they laugh at me? Like, will they talk behind my back? I don't want any of that. And I was the same as you when I started my business. When people would ask, like, what would you do? I just refer to my part-time job at the time. That's what I did. I wouldn't tell people. I wouldn't own up to it. And it's a beautiful thing when you get that moment where you realize you've actually completely overcome, like, that's not even part of your identity anymore. You are here to be seen. You are here to be heard because you have wisdom to share, and only you can do it in your way.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, I find that those pieces that we're most afraid of people seeing in us, like I was always afraid that someone would see me as a bitch because I'm too opinionated, or arrogant because I'm saying, hey, I created success, yay me, and so I wouldn't celebrate my success and I wouldn't share my bold opinions because I was afraid of offending people. But those actually became my superpowers. My clients hire me because I'm no bullshit. I'm just like, look, let's stop with that. Let's get action taking. Let's move on. But then also, I'm the biggest cheerleader. Like, let's celebrate those wins. Let's share it boldly. Let's share it far and wide, because that's what's going to inspire other people as well. And so, anyone listening, if you're afraid of like judgment, I would dig deeper, figure out what is that word or the phrase. And for everyone, it's different, because that piece is the piece that you actually need to give a lot of love. Like, I had to own that part of me that could be seen as arrogant, because I'm like, you know what? I am good at that. So what? Someone might see it as arrogant. Someone might just see it as confident and inspiring. But I had to own that, which actually that became my TED Talk, which is like so full circle. But it's only when you own those parts, show it love, that no matter what anyone else says, it's like, doesn't matter. I love the part of me that could be seen as arrogant, and I own it. So yeah, I always find that that can become the biggest superpower.
And it's always someone's perception of you. And that's always filtered through so many different lenses. And you
Yeah.
can't control that either. You want to talk about what you're good at. You want to talk about those sort of things. But yeah, you don't want to be seen as up yourself and things like that. And you just got to let that go. And I know a big thing around your opinions. I'm definitely opinionated too, get it. But but I think waiting for that invitation
Yeah.
was honestly mic dropping. When I heard it, I was like, oh, I get that to my core. Yeah, that bitter feeling definitely.
Yes. I know. I'd be like at Pilates being like, hey, you're teaching me wrong. Like, I'm not a Pilates expert, but you're teaching me wrong. And they're like, whatever, bitch. And I'm like, feeling bitter. And then, so I learned that that was the best thing to learn. But even when it comes to like social media, like I was not even sharing my opinions on my own social media, and we don't even have to be invited. Like, no one's going to say, hey, Jess, can you post today, please? Like, no one's going to ask me for that. And I remember doing this post a little while ago, probably like 2 years ago now, time flies. But I did this post where I said, having a wait list is like blocking your success. It's like our ego trying to keep us safe, because by having a wait list, you get to avoid having to increase your price. You get to sit on that potential client pool, and it feels safe. And it's like, it feels good on our ego. And what I unpacked around it was, it's supply and demand. Like, if the demand is that high, then your price is too low. You need to increase your price. I don't care if you're charging the most in your industry already, your price is too low. So you need to increase it. And someone was triggered by that. They wrote a whole post about me. They didn't name names, but it was like so obvious, because they quoted it and had many people send it to me saying, this is about you, Jess. They were triggered because they thought I said, if you've got a wait list, you're egotistical, which was not the context at all. But someone's going to take it. And then they wrote a whole post about, this person who said this doesn't care about their clients at all. All they care about is money, and they're greedy and they're arrogant. And then the comments were flowing with, I saw this too, and I agree with you. And it was like a whole fest. And so that moment, I'd already done a lot of work up until then, because in the past I would have never even posted that, because it might possibly be misconstrued. And in that moment, like, I felt the discomfort, and then showed myself some love. And then I moved through it really, really quickly, but it still hurt. But I think we have to kind of weather those storms to build the resilience to hold the next level of success. Because look, the hate's going to come anyway.
Absolutely. I think every challenge like that really hits you being seen. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to speak my truth and be true to me and put out the no bullshit. And I appreciate the no bullshit. Don't give me the fluff. Just tell it to me straight.
I know.
Maybe that's just what we're also raised doing. Like, my mum is the biggest no bullshit person.
Uh-huh.
Point where you're like, you can't say that. So I'm used to that. That's how I grew up. However, that moment there would have been the moment where you could have retreated and you could have gone, oh my God, and shrink a bit, like it's happened. But I see that as like, that is an initiation into your next level of greatness, on this path of
100%.
potential.
Yeah. I always say we have two options in any of those. Option one is like, take that as evidence that you should not share your opinion. Because when I share my opinion, people hate me and that feels uncomfortable. So let me just stop sharing my opinion. Or option two, like you said, this is like the universe giving me the opportunity to build my strength. Because at the next level, there's going to be more haters. And you can't just walk into the gym for the first time, lift 100 kilos. You have to start at 5, then 10, then build your strength up. So it's like, this is your next step up. If you can't hold this, then how do you expect to hold that next level? And so I always take it as that evidence of, okay, great. I'm in the gym, pumping those weights, like stepping into that next level. And I'm going to keep showing up anyway, even if it's discomfort.
Oh,
Uncomfortable.
absolutely. Yeah, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, absolutely. We can't stop when things like that happen because that is just a test. It's like a universal test.
Yeah.
And exactly what you said, if you can't hold that and you can't overcome that in the way that feels best to you, then how the hell are you going to do the next level? Because with every level, there's new challenges. I have this conversation a lot. Obviously, money mindset coach have this conversation a lot with
Yeah.
if you can't manage the money that you've got now, why would the universe give you more? If you're avoiding it, like completely in avoidance, how is that meant to grow? It's a relationship. It cannot grow if you're not giving it love and attention and an intention as to why you're doing it. It's not going to happen. And then it's like oh, I didn't think of it like that. It's like, it's kind of that thing. It's the same sort of thing. So you've had a lot of success too. And I wonder then, given that situation, during your growth, have you had times where you've had to really juggle people's expectations or manage people's expectations? And I mean, I think we all go through this and it's never ending, right? Our circles do change and we do begin to place ourselves, when we realize how important it is, around the people that are expanding us and not restricting us. And how have you kind of navigated that in your life, especially with your success? I know that that isn't always reciprocated in the best way from the people, even if they love us the most, because it's change is uncomfortable for other people as well. Like, how have you navigated that?
Yes. So I actually just recorded like a podcast. When was it? Like last week or something, around friendships in business, because I feel like this is the biggest challenge as we create more success. It's not even about the actual tangible success, but it's who we become in that process and what standards we set at that next level. And so I found that a lot of friendships fell to the wayside because I wasn't here to entertain nonsense or gossip or just like negative conversations in victimhood, and I'm not here to change them. I'm here on my own journey. I've even had people ask me like, why do you talk about money online? Like, why don't you just keep it to yourself? There's definitely projections where it can make people uncomfortable because they know me as Jess behind the scenes. They don't know me as Jess that I share on social media. Not that I'm a different person, but you're going to be different when you're chilling in your pajamas at home versus speaking on a big keynote stage. And so it definitely made them uncomfortable. And I had to really grieve some friendships that weren't coming at that next level, which then it can get very lonely because then you sort of let go of these friendships that are no longer serving you. And for me, there was quite a few in business as well. And as a projector, if we don't feel recognized, it's a problem. And I had a lot of friends or people that I'd met along my journey that weren't necessarily operating at the same speed or fastness that I was. And that's fine. Like, that's not wrong. It's just their journey. But they would constantly come to me when they wanted something and they weren't willing to pay me for my services. They just wanted to use me for things like introductions, and there was no reciprocal relationship. So I definitely have some incredible friends who come to me and they're like, Jess, can I have an intro? And I'm like, no worries, because like it's mutual, you know. But when you've got those people kind of either using you or just wanting free stuff, then it doesn't feel very good.
I
Yeah.
think wisdom too, because you've probably experienced this too your whole life. And then when you realize you're a projector, it made sense. Why do people always come to me to solve their problems?
Yeah.
Give them the advice because you can see it. And so I think too, from what you're saying, is people started to recognize that you did have the answers. And I do get that. The whole, can I just pick your brain? Like, oh, I'll just speak to you and get it all for free. No, that's not how I'm not going to play that game. I don't think anyone in business should play that game.
Yeah.
Especially a projector, because we will give it all away for nothing, you know, because we would do it for nothing because it's just from the like the love that we have and we want to. But it's those boundaries, like what you're saying is
Mhm.
that the boundaries had to come in. And I think that's one of the hardest parts. Like, how did you find having to set boundaries with the people
Mm.
that you loved, but you just knew, like, no, this needs to stop. There needs to be that mutual level of respect there, because it does go both ways.
Yeah.
Someone can't continue to take for years and then they just expect everything to be normal. Like it
Mm.
builds that resentment, which I know
Yeah.
we've both felt.
Well, for me, I didn't actually really have conversations with them around it. I set the boundaries for myself, and I was no longer like messaging them 3 times to say, hey, do you want to hang out? And like they might reply a month later. Like I was just like, I'm not here for that energy. I'm not going to show up in that way. But also, if it was more so the people that were saying, hey, can we catch up? Can I pick your brain? Can I have this for free? And never giving anything back, it wasn't a two-way thing. Then I just said, yep, what we can do is book in for a session. That's how I'm going to be able to give you the best value. Most of them probably said no. And then, some of them said no. And then later on, they ended up booking a session, and that's okay. And sometimes they wanted to combine it as a friendship catch up in person and a session. And I said, no, we're doing it online and then we can catch up separately. And for me, it was really just drawing the line, particularly with friends in business, between friend Jess and mentor Jess. I'm different and I'm the same person, but I'm not going to be your mentor when we're hanging out as friends. I'll give you friendly advice, but I'm not here to build out your whole business for you. So it was me just making that distinction between the two hats that I can wear. And then those other friends that didn't want to meet those boundaries or standards, then I had to just let go, which was pretty hard for some of them. But there was never really like a conversation around
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It just sort of set the boundaries, like you said, for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and then honored that and honored
Yeah.
yourself and honored your energy when
Mm-hmm.
you're in those situations. I think that is the best way too, because when you do stop engaging in a relationship, you do notice the other person's going to pick it up. And
Mm.
sometimes you do it and you don't even really mean to do it, but you're just so busy on your path that you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I need to catch up with this person. But
Yeah.
I think it's really nice. And I think you know who your true friends are and the
Mhm.
ones that have the most respect for you when they are not just wanting to pick your brain for free and get all the juice from you for free, when they literally like, look, I'll pay you. Like, can
Mm.
you coach me? What's your coaching packages worth? Like,
Yeah.
let's have a discussion. And they
Mhm.
don't expect, mates rates. They don't expect that kind of thing. I think they're gold. They're the most beautiful friends. They're the ones you actually want to bring along the journey because
Mm.
there is that mutual respect.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's my goal this year was to connect with more like-minded people on that wavelength as well. Because while I've got some incredible friends, a lot of them are interstate, and I'm talking like friends more so like in business, but most of them are interstate. And so we catch up when we fly interstate. But, you know, for me, I feel like that's one area of my life. Like I'm succeeding over here. I've got my fiance and me, like we're going great. We've got a house, we've got all these things. But for me, I was like, ooh, fun and friendships was like a place that was lacking. And for me, I love my own company. So I'm like, I'm having a great time by myself. But then I realized I kind of was lacking that social interaction.
Yeah. And I think the fun piece
Mm.
is the thing that is so easy to just realize, like, oh, when was the last time I actually had some fun? Like,
Yeah.
it's not just like, not just going for a walk and grounding yourself,
Yeah.
listening to music. It's like actually going out and having fun and being
Mm.
yourself with your friends. So I'm
Yeah.
so guilty of that. I know I've got 3 children. However, you can still have fun.
Yeah. 100%.
So, what would you say then are some of like the key habits or rituals that you have that are crucial to your continual success? Because I know it is a day by day, week by week. We have to keep ourselves grounded and affirm the vision and stay
Mhm.
focused. So, what do you do that supports you in doing that?
Yes, so I have very good to-do lists. I keep that tight. I know this is not really a ritual, but I love this app called Todoist. Not sponsored or anything, but I love it because I find a lot of people just use their notes app and I'm like, then you're copy pasting and just like moving stuff around takes so much time. But this means I can schedule certain tasks on certain days. And if it's not scheduled today, my brain can close it off. Like I don't even need to worry about it. And that for me has allowed me to have so much more output because I'm not trying to think of there's actually 94 things on the list right now. Like if I was trying to think about them all day and like reprioritize, rewrite my to-do list every damn day, that would just waste so much time. So that has been a lifesaver. Also, as a projector with a defined route, I can keep going, but I shouldn't. Like, I don't have the energy to keep going, going. And so that's what very quickly landed me at burnout. And so I love this because I tick off my 4 things. Once that's done, I go and rest. So resting is a big one for me. I actually love, like, I have a daily dose of reality TV. I'm not going to lie. Like, people say you can't watch TV to succeed. And I'm like, you know, people sit there and do their meditation. I'm here doing my reality TV fix. So I actually love that. And then in terms of like more rituals, I don't vibe with like morning routines or like doing the same thing every day. I don't know about you, but I can't do the same thing. I just get bored of it. So I just wake up and think, what do I need today? Do I need to rest a bit more? Do I need to exercise? Do I need to just eat? But in terms of my basic rituals, I probably don't move my body enough. Like I move, but not enough. But I try and do Pilates at least 4 times a week. And then nutrition is my non-negotiable because without those 2 things, like I could obviously move some more, but without those 2 things, I have no energy. And then if I've got no energy, I can't do the things. And then I feel annoyed at myself because I haven't done the things. And then it like gets worse and worse and worse. So I start my day with that, regardless of how busy I am. Always make sure to fuel myself up.
Yeah, we are so ridiculously similar. So I have like my brain dump list, but I do use my notes app, I'm not gonna lie. I use my notes app or I just go straight into like WhatsApp and message a team.
Uh-huh.
So, and same thing. I literally had a nap today because I was so tired and I was like, right, I've got this interview with you. So I slept for over an hour because that's just what I needed. And I felt so rejuvenated. Otherwise, I'm not going to show up like this. Had a healthy lunch with good fats and protein.
Yeah.
So again, energy is the biggest thing. And who doesn't love the Kardashians, right?
I love Kardashians, Real Housewives, Beverly Hills, Vanderpump. Those are like my faves. But then there's like a whole plethora because they run out and then like I need something. So I'm like below deck. Anything on Bravo network is great.
Yeah. Do you know what I find it is? I don't watch a lot of TV other than like that. And my husband and I will always watch 20 minutes of something funny before bed. Like ridiculousness. We are still going through. We are at like season 20. It's like 33 seasons. So plenty to go.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. We are the same. We watch like maybe we watch like 2 20-minute episodes of like Big Bang Theory or Friends or just like something lighthearted. That's the only TV I watch as well. So it sounds like we need to have like a slumber party and just like binge a bunch.
Yeah, that's literally it. It's like that's the downtime. And do you also do the sleepy tea? Like we have our sleepy tea and then it's 1 or 2 eps of a funny thing.
Yep. The sleepy tea and like the 90% dark chocolate dipped in my tea. That's what I do.
Chocolate chip cookies for me.
I'm gluten-free and I'm like, all right, 90% chocolate. My friends think I'm nuts, but like once you get onto it, it tastes pretty good.
Do you know what? I should be gluten-free and I predominantly eat gluten-free, but then those cookies, I just
They
can't.
are good.
Anyway, I know we're almost up on time because I don't want to take your time because time is precious and we're busy here, okay? I know you're a busy woman. So last couple of questions. First of all, let's talk about money because I know that you are open and you do talk about this too. So how has working on your money mindset really supported you and contributed to the levels of freedom that you can experience now?
Yeah. Well, after I emptied my life savings by accident, didn't realize and, couldn't pay for my parking that day at work and it was a whole ordeal, I realized I needed to look at my money firstly. So I never had a scarcity mindset around money. I just wasn't looking at it. I was like, amazing opportunity, pay for this, pay for that. Great, no worries. I know this is going to pay off in the long run. So that was fine. But it was the problem around, okay, maybe I need to manage my money better, have a bit of a budget, a bit of a cash flow. But I actually also don't regret like emptying my life savings, because I'm like, then I would have never gone to New York Fashion Week, because that costs money to go there, like pay for the whole new collection, all of that. So it paid off. But over the years, I've had to work on my money mindset around earning more, because I was used to always just having enough. And I kind of kept hitting this invisible barrier of like, why do I keep hitting the same income every single month, even though my business is set up to scale? Like, why? What is going on? And then I shifted a bit of my money mindset, and I kind of did a lot of visualizations around that time around relaxing my nervous system of receiving huge buttloads of money. Like I would visualize it and then receive it, and then I'd be like, oh, that feels uncomfortable. And then I'd receive it. But I had to do a lot of work around that. And then after that, I had like a 78K week because I worked on my mindset. And there was nothing strategically that I did differently. That's the thing. And it's just continued to grow from there. But I know there's another level, like I know I'm coming up against another cap. And so I think just at every level, it's normalizing not so much like scarcity money mindset, but feeling safe in holding more money. And like you said, if you're not taking care of the money you already have, like it's going to feel unsafe if you automatically just came into billions of dollars. You're like, holy shit, what do I do with it? Let me get rid of it. And then you can relax. But mindset has been the biggest key for me.
I love that you touched on that too, that receivership, because receivership is so hard. And it's
Mm.
especially so hard for women. When I was back working in corporate, it was often the men that were straight away, I want a pay rise, I'm worth this. And then the women would just retreat. I know I would.
Yeah.
I remember getting paid like 50 to 60 grand less than the man that I was doing the same job alongside.
Yeah.
I was young too, but still I'm like, that
Yeah.
is significantly different here.
See, when I was in corporate, I was like, bitch, you need to pay me 20K more. I haven't necessarily been like, I don't deserve money, but I was like, I deserve more, and why can't I have more? Like, why something subconsciously is happening here. And it wasn't even the part of my consciousness. I was like, I'm ready for more. I want more. Give me more. All of those confident self-beliefs that entrepreneurs often set income goals, and they're like, why do I keep falling short? And they don't know why. And it's usually a subconscious block that's playing out. Because for me, having more money meant more responsibility, meant more projections, meant if people are paying me more, then I better show the hell up. And it was this invisible pressure that I was putting on myself. And that felt unsafe. So let me just keep playing small and avoid all of those things. So I wasn't even aware how it was playing out, even though I was like, I'm ready for that next level. And it's just crazy how our mind controls everything. So it's so awesome and powerful, like the work that you obviously do every damn day with your clients. I'm sure you see it a lot around women and money.
Yeah. And often a lot of people think that they have this misconception that when you earn more, though, then it'll all just work out. Like more money will solve the problems, and it doesn't. Like, I've worked with attorneys who are scaling to 70K months, and then I've worked with startups, and it's never the money. The money is not the problem, and more money doesn't solve the problem. It's exactly what you said. It is the subconscious self-perpetuating cycles that just go unseen and unnoticed. And it's literally like you just bang your head against a brick wall going, but I want more.
Yeah.
I'm sure I want more. Why wasn't it coming? Why is it an income plateau? Why can't I crack this ceiling? And then when you get to the root cause of it and you start to unlock what's actually going on under the surface, that's when I really notice people start to really change. And they start to create that identity of the woman that they dream of becoming.
Yeah.
And they begin to just bridge that gap. And that's probably, I know that's obviously the most rewarding thing, right? It's rewarding seeing that happen.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming on today. I just wanted to see if there was any final thoughts, or actually one question to finish it off.
Okay.
What is a mantra that you live by that you would like to pass on to the listeners?
Yeah. So this mantra, this mantra is one that I live by. And it was actually a Facebook status that I posted in 2011. So I was like 18 years old, probably had a very different meaning, but I wrote, where there's a will, there's always a way. Just watch me. And I think that's so powerful, because there is always a way. I just find most people aren't willing to do the way that it maybe takes. But it's like, if you know you have that goal, that desire, that vision, then go out in there and get it. It just might take a few different ways to find the right way to get there.
Yeah. And it was meant for you if it's on your heart, right?
Yeah.
If you have that desire, then it was given to you for a reason. So you better bloody go and get it. Otherwise, it's just lost. It's wasted. Well, thank you so much. I will put all your links and everything in the show notes as well to connect with Jess on Instagram, listen to her podcast, and also there is a link to a free masterclass that she's created for high caliber clients on tap, as well as the YouTube documentary series that you did, because I feel like that will give a lot more of an insight into you and your journey. But thank you for going deep, because I love that, like understanding a bit more about you as a woman and how you got here, apart from all the success, which is just phenomenal, mind you. And it is so incredibly inspiring to see women like you doing huge things that are a bit delusional in the best way. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I think we could be here all day just chatting about everything. But thank you so much for having me. And yeah, we'll hang out soon.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I would absolutely love it if you could please leave me a 5-star review and let me know your thoughts. Remember, everything you desire and deserve is just on the other side of your own resistance. So take that next step.